I want to wrap up this video series just looking at some general philosophies and comments about mixing and what we're trying to accomplish, and some things that will hopefully help you get a better mix, a more consistent mix, one that's going to sound better on different platforms. But I encourage you all to be thinking musically about what you're doing. And I always spend time listening to the songs that are going to be played during a service, and thinking, okay, what is driving this song? Is this an acoustic guitar driven song? Is it a piano driven song? Is it drums and electric guitar or something like that? What is it that musically makes this song interesting? And you kind of have to couch that in light of what instrumentation that we are going to have available to us on Sunday. So learn who your instrumentalists are and kind of what their capabilities are. You'll learn what some of them can do and what they can't do, and the typical types of sound that you're going to get. And so you want to be thinking before you even come to rehearsal, this is what I'm going to be looking for in this song. This is probably what they're going to bring out. And so you want to be thinking about that musically. And so as you go from one song to another, okay, this one is a real piano heavy song, so we got a pad in the background and maybe a little electric guitar with some color, but it's really that rhythmic piano that's going to play off of that vocal. And so I really want that piano and vocal to be there, you know. And so you got to be thinking of yourself as a musician. So you're not a fader jockey, you're not the tech guy that knows how to program computers. You're a musician as much as the rest of the team is, and so you need to be thinking about that musically, thinking about what you're doing musically. What would make this interesting? And some songs that'll get long and repetitive and over and over and over again, put some musical interest in it. So for part of the song, for one verse, you know, push that electric guitar, make that ring out, and then for another part, maybe just the pads, make them nice smooth pads, and then throw the keyboard in, and different things like that. So you can kind of do some subtle balance things in your mix to make it sound interesting, to make it have some life, and not just be they're just out there, and you know, make it some life, make it breathe, make it interesting, make it engaging for people to grasp onto that, to jump into it. So that's what you want to be thinking about musically. In terms of vocals, you want that lead vocal to always be out in front. So this is worship time. You want people to engage, you want to invite them in, you want to make it easy for them to hear the melody, to be able to sing the words. The lyrics are going to be on the screen, so make sure they can hear that melody so that they can sing to it. And this can be kind of, you know, this is a lot of personal preference there, and especially how you balance those with your background vocals. And you know, if you listen to different worship churches and worship teams, you'll hear very different things. So some teams like a lot of that background vocal, the crowd mics and a lot of people, and you know, they're just those vocals are right there in your face. And then you listen to other groups, and you'll see some background vocals on the stage, and you really got to work hard to hear what they're doing, because it's all about that lead vocal and all the electric guitars, and so everything's a little bit different. So this is something that you really have to work closely with your worship pastor and get feedback, and you know, be interested. So go to the worship pastor, and sometimes you have to ask for it. Say, hey, the mix last week, what did you think? You know, what was the balance in there? And so I find myself pushing background vocals for what we are wanting right now, at least at Church of the Savior, a little bit heavier in the background vocals than you'll hear from groups like Elevation or Bethel or some of those groups. So we like those rich, thick background vocals. We want to hear those harmonies in there. And so we're doing a lot of that. But make sure, and this is one of those things, that make sure that you don't have too much of that vocal mix in your group. And that's why it's nice to have those group controls on there, is that you can get those vocals balanced in there real good. And then you want to go over to that mix bus and say, okay, how are that vocal group sitting relative to the rest of the instrumentation, all the music in the background? So do I need to bring that vocal back or bring it up? Now here I'll just give you a tendency that we often have up here in the control room, especially with the Shure headsets that we have now. The tendency is to really make those vocals too prominent in the mix, and I find myself really having to work hard to push those vocals back, and it almost seems like up here that you're burying them. But then when you get out and get it on a laptop speaker or get on an iPad or cheap headphones or something like that, you're going to find those vocals will pop out of that mix a lot more than you thought they would. And so it's kind of hard sometimes. And again, that's why there's no substitution. I mentioned this in the introduction video. There's no substitution for taking your mix, and you can put a thumb drive right here in the console and record it. It comes off of there as an MP4 file, and you can take it to, or an MP3, you can take it to any device and load it in and listen to it. So listen to it on your phone, listen to it on your laptop, listen to it on good headphones, listen to it on cheap headphones. What is the difference? What are you hearing? You know, how does it translate to all those different platforms? And that's something that you have to do. Here's another trick to help you out. So we'll often put those headphones on and we'll mix at a volume where we're comfortable, we can hear things that's going on. I encourage you to reach over, turn that volume down. So ride that volume back and listen to your mix, and as you turn that volume down, 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 more and more, what do you hear disappearing? And it'll be interesting for you when that volume gets down at a really low level. What's the last thing you hear before it goes? The last thing you hear before it turns off, that's what's on top of your mix. And so if you turn it down, 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 the last thing you hear is that snare drum cracking the heck out of you. It's like, okay, I may need to back that snare drum off a little bit and make sure that that lead vocal is not getting buried by that snare drum. And so, you know, that can help you. So turn it up, turn it down at different volume levels. You're going to get a different perspective on your mix. Bring different headphones in here. We have this nice little headphone amp beside the console, and you can plug any headphone in. So I bring my cheap little earbuds and plug them into there. And so I mix on the headset, and every now and then during the worship, I'll set them down, I'll pick up those earbuds and put them on. What do they sound like? And it's going to be a little bit different, so what are you bringing out? And you'll find as your mix gets tighter and tighter and better, you're going to have not so much major differences between what you hear on the cans and what you hear on the earbuds and what you hear on the iPad, and all those different devices are going to be a little bit smoother. Think about a CD. You know, if you download a CD or download a good MP3 from the internet or whatever, there's a lot of commonality between what you hear and the balance between headphones, computer speakers, stereo speakers in your house. All that stuff is there, and so you can achieve that. It is tough, and it takes a lot of practice. It takes you taking that mix, going to different devices and say, wow, man, those, you know, I had all those effects in there and they sounded really good, but I got here, the vocals just seemed dead. So I need to calibrate myself to come in here and say, I may need a little bit more effect. You know, I may just, seems like maybe it's just a little bit too much to me here, but I know when I go out to the iPad and so forth, it's going to be much, much better, much more balanced sound. So that's the kind of things you have to do to achieve that balance. But again, use different headsets, listen to it on different mixes. Go back over and over again and get other people, some feedback from other people. You know, don't be afraid to ask, and you know, you might hear some things that you might not agree with, but you got to learn to listen and listen to other people. So stay close to your worship pastor, stay close to other people who you trust with mixes. I've done that with some of my mixes, send them to friends that I know from other churches, and they've listened to it and help me get better. And so those are the things that will help you get better. So I encourage you with that. We've got really good gear here, and there's a really good opportunity. And you know, this broadcast, because of this coronavirus, I think is really going to revolutionize the church. So you guys need to dig in, because whether the church really understands it or not, I think this online presence and what we're doing is only going to become more and more important as we move forward. So get better. I hope these videos are somewhat helpful to you, and I'm willing to answer questions anytime. Give me a call, and I'll be glad to help you out as much as I can. So thanks, guys, and good luck. Great mixing.